Afternoon and welcome to the Plastribution Podcast. I'm Ian Chisnall. I'm the product manager for sustainability, and I'm here with Joe Putt from our technical team. And in today's podcast, we're going to be talking about the packaging tax. So if I can just ask you, Joe, if you could just briefly summarize what the packaging tax is.
So as briefly as possible, the packaging tax is a £200 a tonne tax on any plastic packaging component.
Okay. So are there any exemptions to the tax?
Well, yeah. The key driving force for the tax is to include more recycled content. So any plastic packaging that contains 30% or more of recycled content is exempt. Apart from that, there are only a few other exemptions. So if the packaging is being exported, if you're packaging medical licensed medicines, and if you are a small company, so only producing or importing less than 10 tonnes a year of packaging.
Okay, so just to be clear, food packaging, the tax will still apply?
Yes, so the tax will still apply on all food packaging, even though recycled food contact grades are hard to source. It is not exempt from the packaging tax.
Okay, so for the purposes of this tax, what would be considered packaging?
So packaging is any single-use article designed to transport, protect, and showcase a product.
Okay. So anything that's single-use packaging?
Yes, so anything that you'd see as single-use packaging, and it's also not just packaging as a whole. Every component would be considered. So, for example, a bottle and its cap would be considered separate packaging components.
Okay, so how would this affect products that are multi-material? So say, for example, it's made out of laminated cardboard.
Yeah, so it's all done by weight. So it depends if the polymer or plastic is the highest weight component. So with laminated card, the card is the highest weight component. So if you have a container, bottle, laminated card, that card's going to be the highest weight, so that won't be liable for the tax. However, if that laminated card bottle has a plastic cap, that plastic cap will still be liable for the tax.
Okay. So at what point is the tax charged, and who is the company that's going to be responsible for paying the tax?
So the tax is charged at what's called the last substantial modification, and it's the company that makes this last substantial modification that is liable to pay the tax. And this is the last change to the shape, structure, thickness or weight of the material or part as it is by the end of that thing, at the end of that modification.
Okay, so is there more information available on what that would constitute then? Would that be like a government website?
Yes, so the best place to go for the full details on the sort of last substantial modification is the gov.uk website. Unfortunately, if I was to sit here listing all, because there are quite a few sort of different variations, a few exemptions, some processes that you'd expect. Anyway, there's a lot of different variations that can happen, so I would suggest go to the gov.uk guidance for full specification on that.
Okay, I think we could probably put a link on our own webpage, which would direct you towards that. Yeah. So the company that's responsible for paying the tax, what do they have to do?
So the tax itself is a quarterly return. And, obviously you have to report on volumes of packaging that you've created or imported and pay the tax as required. You'd also have to provide evidence for any exemptions. So if you're, using recycled content, then you can prove that. Or if the material is being exported, show proof for that. And again, if you're using, if you're packaging licensed medicines, as long as you can provide proof, you would no longer need to pay the tax on that packaging.
Okay. So I think, as you said, the driving force is increasing the use of recycled plastic. So for the purposes of this tax, what constitutes recycled plastic?
Yeah, so this tax defines two types of recycled plastic. The first is quite easy. It's post-consumer. So that's the sort of, well, it's end-of-life plastic. So that's after it's been through your hands, after it's been used. There's also pre-consumer, which would typically be described in the industry as post-industrial. It's material that's been recovered from, waste from processing. The only issue with that is that regrind is specifically not allowed to be used as recycled content. So if material is being reground, fed straight back into the same process, that doesn't count as recycled plastic. And the only issue there is we haven't got yet a clear definition of where regrind stops and where pre-consumer starts. So where it's considered a waste from production.
Well, let's hope we get some clarification before the tax is implemented in April this year.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Joe, for your contribution to this podcast. If you want any more information on this and many other topics of the plastics industry, please keep looking at our website, www.plastribution.co.uk. Thanks very much.
Thank you.